At the start of the film, we see a sonogram of two babies sharing a womb. The scene abruptly shifts to Maria Brennan, a 17-year-old girl getting ready for school. She is extremely shy and awkward in social situations. A classmate named Mark frequently bullies her because of her personality. Lily, Maria's only friend, frequently ignores her when they are in a group setting. To say the least, Maria's school life isn't ideal. She and Lily are sitting on the sidelines at school one day, watching the ice hockey team play. Lily interrupts the practice and begins kissing her boyfriend Sean. Maria looks on in jealousy, having long had a crush on Sean. She has dinner with her parents, Dan and Amy, at home. Dan is a philandering plastic surgeon who strives for perfection. He has always had power over Maria's life and is a contributing factor to her social anxiety. Amy, Maria's mother, is always trying to do her best for her daughter, but she, too, suffers from depression and anxiety as a result of her husband's constant verbal abuse. Amy tries to match Maria with a boy for the upcoming prom, but Maria refuses and storms off to her room. She overhears Dan talking about how much of a failure she is on her way. She sobs, clearly moved by her father's words. Later, she discovers a sonogram of twins hidden behind a mirror in her parents' room. She goes to shower after looking at the picture and notices her reflection in the mirror moving on its own. She flees the bathroom, terrified. During breakfast, she tries to tell Dan about the incident, but he cuts her off and remarks on how bad she looks. Lily is preoccupied with Sean at school and ignores Maria as usual. When she isn't looking, Mark causes her to trip and fall to the floor, and everyone laughs except Sean. He helps her up, checks on her, and even calls Mark out on his behavior. Maria hears someone calling her name from the bathroom that night. She enters with caution and notices her reflection in the mirror, who is turning the other way. The reflection introduces herself as Yairam and claims to have known Maria since her birth. The reflection boasts about being able to remove all of Maria's sadness but does not explain her true motivation. As they converse, Maria begins to like Yairam because Yairam is aware of all of her likes, fears, and dislikes. They get along fine. Maria appears unconcerned about the fact that she is conversing with a reflection. After school the next day, she is in a good mood and goes to her father's clinic, where she notices him being a little too friendly with a patient. Maria is unconcerned and joins him at the movies for some father-daughter bonding time. As they are about to leave, she runs into Mark, who treats her nicely in front of Dan. His friends burst out laughing immediately after making Maria feel terrible. Dan notices the children bullying his daughter but says nothing. On their way home, he invites her to his clinic for an early birthday present tomorrow. Maria talks to Yairam at night, who does not approve of her efforts to improve her relationship with Dan. She mocks Maria for believing Dan genuinely cares about her. Maria, on the other hand, believes that her father will give her a car tomorrow so that she will no longer have to ride the bus with the bullies. Her hopes are dashed the next day, when Dan reveals that her early birthday present is rhinoplasty. He believes her nose is unattractive and wishes to improve its appearance. Maria is depressed as a result of the interaction, so she simply agrees with whatever he says. When Yairam returns home, she tells her that she has always known what kind of person Dan is. She recognizes Maria's sadness and makes her laugh by joking about Dan's affairs. Amy panics when she hears her daughter talking to herself in the bathroom. Dan is informed, but he gives her a sleeping pill and advises her to rest before falling asleep. She informs him that she has resumed having the same nightmares. Lily and Maria go to an old clubhouse the next day to practice ice skating for the upcoming on-ice winter prom. Lily is an ice skating pro, whereas Maria can barely stand up straight. She falls and injures her knees while attempting to move. Lily, on the other hand, refuses to assist her because she has noticed Maria eyeing her boyfriend and wishes to teach her a lesson. When Yairam sees her at home, she tells her that Lily is a terrible friend. Maria still wants to give her a chance, but Yairam is adamantly opposed. She reminds Maria of everything Lily has done to her since they were children. Finally, she claims that if Maria switches places with her, she will be relieved of all her pain. They touch hands and get closer to switching, but Amy stops them. Amy does Maria's makeup and dresses her up for prom the next day. Maria is hesitant to go, but she does so for her mother's sake. However, by the time she arrives, she realizes that it was a bad idea. She can hardly stand up straight while everyone else is skating around. Sean comes to help her and asks for a dance, which brightens her day. While a jealous Lily looks on, the two enjoy slow dancing together. Maria suddenly slips and falls down. Sean attempts to assist her but is stopped by Lily, who pretends not to notice Maria on the ground. Mark, the bully, extends his hand to help her up but instead drags her across the ice. Everyone laughs and mocks her, while Maria begs him to stop. When he finally does, she gets up and runs back home. Maria has had enough of people treating her like garbage. She begs Yairam to switch places and solve all of her problems. Maria and her reflection exchange hands and kisses. Maria enters the mirror shortly after the interaction, while Yairam takes her place in the real world. Amy dreams at night of giving birth to a baby, but something goes horribly wrong. Since Maria's birth, she has had the same recurring dream. Amy notices a noticeable change in Maria's behavior the next morning at breakfast. Normally, she barely touches her food, but now she enjoys a bagel that complements the flavor. Amy is pleased with the positive change but is unconcerned about it. When Maria walks into school, she is much more confident than usual, and when Mark comments on the events of the day before, she seductively whispers into his ears, making him shut up. Sean notices this and inquires as to what she said to Mark. Taking advantage of the situation, Yairam does the same to him, leaving him flustered. Lily brings up yesterday's incident and attempts to dismiss it as a joke. Yairam asks confidently if she can continue teaching her to skate. Lily is perplexed by her sudden confidence, but she agrees to meet with her. Yairam returns to the clubhouse after school to practice before meeting Dan in his office. She appears to be overjoyed to see him and says she has missed him. It's almost as if she hasn't seen him in years. Yairam is aware that her father has had several affairs, but her mother is too afraid to admit it. Nonetheless, she is determined to force her to confront the reality of their superficial marriage. When no one answers the phone at the front desk, she calls Dan's mistress and asks her to come to the clinic at 1. She also lies to her mother about having a date with Dan at the same time. Amy later arrives at the office and meets the mistress in the elevator, where she discovers she is Dan's girlfriend. Later that night, Yairam smugly asks Amy where her father is. Despite the fact that she is aware that he is with his mistress, Amy lies and claims that he is working late. Amy slaps her but immediately apologizes after a frustrated Yairam tells her to accept the fact that her husband is sleeping with other women. Yairam smiles, even after being slapped by her mother, because her plan was successful. Maria, on the other hand, is upset because Yairam was rude to her mother. Yairam claims she is doing what Maria never had the courage to do. She asks her to keep the faith, but Maria is beginning to wonder if letting her out was a wise decision. Everyone is leaving the next day after school when Yairam lures Mark into the shower room. When he isn't looking, she hits him with a hockey stick, causing him to collapse to the ground in agony and teaching him a lesson to never mess with her again. She and Lily then return to the clubhouse to practice skating once more. Yairam is better at skating this time. Lily was irritated because she thought she was better than Maria at everything. Yairam copies Lily like a pro, much to Lily's surprise. Suddenly, Yairam skates aggressively towards her. Despite the fact that they do not exchange words, Lily senses she is in danger and flees. While they are arguing, she loses her balance and crashes into the pavement, killing herself as a result of the impact. Yairam immediately dials 911 while pretending to cry. Maria is at a loss for words as a result of what Yairam did to Lily. She weeps, mourning the death of her best friend, but Yairam simply says that Lily deserved it. Maria demands that she be allowed to leave the mirror, but Yairam refuses, claiming that she still has a lot to do. Yairam goes to Sean's house after Lily's memorial, pretending to be sad about her death. In reality, She wishes to be closer to him, as Maria has always desired. She makes sexual advances toward him, which he initially does not reciprocate, but eventually yields and the two make love. Yairam and Dan go out to dinner to spend time together as father and daughter. She orders a crab and eats it haphazardly, much to Dan's chagrin. When he asks her to stop, she challenges him by putting her foot on the chair. Dan tells her harshly that she looks like a pathetic try-hard teenager, which causes her to behave properly once more. Meanwhile, she begins dating Sean, and the two frequently skip classes. They return to her house, where Amy notices them and becomes concerned about their relationship. Yairam simply asks her to continue sleeping and leads Sean to her room, where they make love once more. Yairam notices police officers entering the school the next day as they drive to school. Sean is urged to skip class again so she will not be interrogated. They drive to a motel and begin undressing, but Sean receives a call from his mother informing him that the police want to speak with him and Maria about Lily's death. Sean wishes to leave as soon as possible, but Yairam refuses. She questions him on why he still cares about Lily even though she is no longer alive. Sean believes she had something to do with Lily's death because of the question. Yairam kills him with a bottle of alcohol after he calls her out on it. She and Maria are crying together on the bathroom counter. In a flashback, we learn that Maria had a twin sister who was born with a deformed face. Dan, a perfectionist, disliked the second girl and euthanized her against Amy's wishes. Yairam is his second daughter, and she is still hurt that she was not good enough for her father. She gets drunk and goes to Dan's clinic hours later. Dan tries to calm her down but is taken aback when she strips naked in front of him. He tells her to get dressed quickly, but she refuses. She asks him if he would still love her if she were deformed. Dan tries to avoid answering the question, but when pressed, he says he still loves her. Yairam slits his throat with a scalpel, much to his surprise. She asks him as he takes his last breath why he couldn't just love her. Aram looks in the mirror for Maria while cleaning the scalpel but cannot find her. She returns home and climbs into Amy's bed. Both Maria and Yairam are on the bed with their mother in the final scene, implying that the sisters have merged into one.